June 9th, 1944, 3 days after D-Day. A man sits alone in a London apartment, tapping a coded message to Berlin. He tells his German handlers that Normandy is a feint, that the real invasion hasn't started yet, that they must not move a single division. The message reaches Adolf Hitler. He agrees. 34 divisions hold position, away from the beaches where Allied soldiers are bleeding into the sand. The man at the radio is not a soldier. He is not a trained spy. 2 years earlier, he was managing a chicken farm outside Barcelona. His name is Juan Pujol García, and the 27 agents in his spy network, not one of them is real. Barcelona, 1936. The streets crack open. One morning you walk to the market. By afternoon, neighbors are choosing sides. By nightfall, people who shared bread last week are pointing rifles at each other across the same avenue. The Spanish Civil War does not arrive with a single gunshot. It arrives as a fracture, left against right, church against state, brother against brother, and it swallows everyone. Juan Pujol García is 24 years old. He comes from a comfortable Catalan family. His father runs a dye factory. His mother is devoutly Catholic. Juan himself is, by every measure, unremarkable. A mediocre student, a man who has tried his hand at his father's business, at managing poultry, at running movie theaters. None of it has stuck. But the war does not care about resumes. The Republicans conscript him first. He watches their mobs drag priests into the street. He sees churches burn while crowds cheer. His mother's faith, the quiet center of his childhood, is treated as a disease to be cauterized. He escapes, crosses lines, ends up with Franco's nationalists. And there, the mirror flips. Different uniforms, same cruelty, swift and brutal punishments. Propaganda so thick it replaces oxygen. Dissent punished, not with argument, but with violence. By the time the war ends in 1939, Juan Pujol García has served both sides. He has believed in neither, and he has learned something that will define the rest of his life. Totalitarianism wears different flags, but it is always the same machine. It eats people, left or right, it does not matter. Then a larger war begins. September 1939, Hitler invades Poland. Europe ignites. And Pujol, this failed businessman, this chicken farmer with no connections and no training, decides he must do something. Not because anyone asks him to, because he cannot live with himself if he doesn't. January 1941, Madrid. He walks into the British embassy. He tells them he wants to spy for Britain. He tells them he hates fascism with every cell in his body. He tells them he will do anything. They thank him politely, and they show him the door. He comes back in February, rejected. March, rejected again. 3 times, the British tell a man who will become their most valuable intelligence asset in the entire war, "We don't need you." So Juan Pujol García makes a decision that should be impossible. If Britain won't let him fight the Nazis from their side, he will walk into the German embassy instead. Not because he believes in the Reich, because it is the only door left open, and he is going to walk through it. What happens next is one of the most audacious gambles of the entire Second World War. If you're the kind of person who needs to know how it plays out, subscribe now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what comes next. Now, back to Madrid. The German embassy does not reject him. Pujol walks in with a story. He tells the Abwehr, German military intelligence, that he is a Spanish government official, that he despises the British, that he can travel to England as a diplomatic courier and report back everything he sees. The Germans like what they hear. They give him a crash course in espionage basics. They hand him a code book, invisible ink, cash. They assign him a code name, Arabelle. There is only one problem. Juan Pujol García does not go to England. He goes to Lisbon. Picture a dim apartment in the Portuguese capital, summer 1941. A man sits at a small desk surrounded by maps, pamphlets, and a book that will become his most important weapon, a blue guide to England, a tourist guidebook, the kind you buy in an airport. Next to it, a copy of Bradshaw's railway timetable, train schedules, station names, routes between cities he has never visited. On weekends, he walks to the cinema and watches British newsreels, scribbling notes about uniforms and landscapes in the dark. From these fragments, a guidebook, a train schedule, newsreels, and his own imagination, Juan Pujol García begins writing intelligence reports about a country he has never set foot in. And the reports are extraordinary, detailed, confident, layered with the kind of specifics that make intelligence analysts nod and file them under reliable. He describes troop movements in Liverpool, nave activity in the Channel, the mood of the British public. All of it invented. And the mistakes are almost beautiful. He writes that Glaswegians will do anything for a liter of wine. Scots drink whiskey. He reports clear skies in Glasgow in November. Anyone who has spent 5 minutes in Scotland knows that is a fantasy, more elaborate than anything in his spy reports. His currency calculations are wrong. His geography drifts. Small details that any British person would catch in a heartbeat. But his German handlers are not British. They read his reports from a desk in Madrid, and they see exactly what they want to see. A brave agent deep inside enemy territory, risking his life to serve the Reich. They rate Arabelle as one of their most valuable sources on the British Isles. They increase his funding. They ask for more. So Pujol gives them more. He begins inventing sub-agents, a Portuguese courier, a Glaswegian with connections to the shipping industry, fictional people with fictional lives, filing fictional reports from fictional positions across a country their creator has never visited. 38 detailed intelligence reports leave Lisbon for Madrid in the space of 9 months. Every word is a lie, wrapped in confidence. But 400 miles north, in a building that officially does not exist, someone is paying very close attention. Bletchley Park. Britain's secret decryption center is reading German mail. Not all of it, but enough. Through a program called ISOS, they are intercepting Abwehr communications, and something strange keeps appearing. A network codename, Arabelle, a spy ring operating inside Britain, reports that the Abwehr calls first rate. MI5 does what any intelligence service would do. They panic. Who is Arabelle? Is there a German spy network they missed? How deep does it go? The analysts cross-reference everything they know about German agents in Britain. Nothing matches. The reports describe real places, but contain errors no real agent would make. The troop movements don't correspond to actual deployments. The trail does not lead to London. It leads to Lisbon. Slowly, the picture sharpens. This is not a German spy in England. This is someone in Portugal, pretending to be in England, sending fabricated reports that the Abwehr treats as gospel. The question becomes, is this an elaborate German deception or something else entirely? By early 1942, MI5 identifies the source, a Spaniard named Juan Pujol García, the same man the British embassy in Madrid turned away 3 times. In April 1942, they bring him to London. The debrief lasts days. MI5 officers sit across from this unassuming man and listen to him describe, in fluent, theatrical Spanish, how he fooled one of the most dangerous intelligence services in the world with a tourist guidebook, a train timetable, and sheer nerve. Their assessment is simple. This man is either completely insane or an extraordinary natural talent. Either way, they cannot afford to let him go. They assign him a handler, Tomás Harris, a half-Spanish art dealer recruited into MI5 Section B1A, the unit responsible for running double agents. Harris speaks perfect Spanish. He has the same creative mind, the same theatrical instinct. When someone asks him why he chose the codename Garbo, his answer is immediate: because he is the greatest actor in the world. What follows is one of the most remarkable creative partnerships of the war. Pujol invents, Harris refines. Together, they expand the network from a handful of fictional agents to 27. Each one has a name, a biography, a personality, a reason for hating Britain. There is a Venezuelan student in Glasgow, an anti-British Welsh nationalist in Swansea, a disgruntled Indian serving in the colonial administration, a Greek sailor with loose lips and a drinking problem. Every character is built to be believed, not just by the Germans, but by the filing systems of German intelligence. And Pujol does not just create them, he ends them. When Agent 33, the Greek sailor, becomes difficult to maintain, Pujol sends a somber message to his handlers in Madrid. The agent has fallen ill. He has passed away in Glasgow. Pujol describes the funeral. He submits an expense report for the burial costs. The Germans send condolences. Then they reimburse him. They are paying funeral expenses for a man who was never born. They are funding salaries, travel costs, and bribes for 27 agents who exist only in the filing cabinets of the Abwehr and the imagination of a chicken farmer from Barcelona. The total? Over $340,000. Germany is financing the weapon that will be aimed directly at them. By 1944, the Garbo network is the most trusted intelligence source the Abwehr possesses inside Great Britain. Berlin considers Arabelle indispensable. They have no reason to doubt him, which is exactly what the Allies are counting on, because the biggest lie is still coming. Spring 1944. The invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe is coming. Everyone knows it. Hitler knows it. The question is not whether the Allies will cross the Channel. The question is where. 2 targets, Normandy, the actual landing site, and Pas de Calais, the closest point between England and France. Obvious, expected, and exactly where the Allies want the Germans to keep looking. Operation Fortitude is the most ambitious military deception ever conceived. Its southern component, Fortitude South, exists for one purpose: convince Berlin that the main invasion force is aimed at Calais, that Normandy, if it happens at all, is a diversion. At the center of this deception, a ghost army, FUSAG, the first United States Army group, 150,000 soldiers who do not exist. Inflatable tanks parked in English fields, plywood aircraft on fake runways, radio traffic generated by a handful of operators pretending to be divisions. And commanding this phantom force, the one general the Germans fear most, George S. Patton. Garbo's job is to make FUSAG real. His 27 agents file reports from across southeast England. They describe troop concentrations, vehicle movements, officers overheard in pubs talking about Calais. The detail is overwhelming. The consistency is airtight. And Berlin believes every word because they have believed every word for 3 years. Then June comes. The night of June 5th, Garbo sits at his radio. He knows the invasion fleet is already at sea. Thousands of ships moving toward Normandy in the darkness. He taps out an urgent message to Madrid. Allied forces are departing. The target appears to be the Normandy coast. The message is timed with surgical precision. It arrives at the Abwehr's Madrid station after the radio operator has gone to bed. By the time anyone reads it, soldiers are already fighting on the beaches. The warning is accurate and completely useless, but it accomplishes something far more valuable than intelligence. It makes the Germans trust Garbo absolutely. He warned them. He was right. It was not his fault they missed the transmission. Arabelle is everything they believed he was. 3 days pass. The Allies hold their beachhead, but it is fragile. German reserves, panzer divisions, infantry, everything Hitler has been holding back, could crush Normandy if they move west. Everything depends on whether those reserves stay where they are. June 9th, 1944. Garbo sends the longest transmission of his career, over 2,000 words. The language is urgent, authoritative, certain. After personal consultation with my agents, I am of the opinion that the present attack is a diversionary maneuver designed to draw off enemy reserves in order that a decisive attack can then be made in another place. He tells Berlin the real blow is coming at Pas de Calais. FUSAG has not moved. Patton is waiting. Normandy is the feint. I maintain my opinion, in spite of the present attack, that a second strike in the Pas de Calais is imminent. The message climbs the chain of command. It reaches the German High Command. It reaches Hitler, and Hitler agrees. 34 divisions, 15 panzer divisions, 19 infantry remain locked in position at Pas de Calais. For 7 weeks after D-Day, the force that could have pushed the Allies back into the sea stays exactly where a chicken farmer told them to stay. One man, one message. One lie that held an army in place long enough for the free world to gain a foothold on the continent. What do you give a man who just helped save Western civilization? If you are Germany, the Iron Cross. July 29th, 1944. A radio message from Berlin congratulates their most valuable agent for outstanding service to the Reich. If you are Britain, the MBE. November 25th, 1944. King George VI pins a medal to the chest of a Spaniard who barely speaks English, in a ceremony no one outside a handful of MI5 officers will ever know about. Same man, same war, same side. Juan Pujol García becomes the only person in the Second World War to be decorated by both the Nazis and the Allies. He earned both medals doing the exact same thing: lying. The war ends in May 1945. The celebrations reach every corner of Europe. Soldiers go home. Families reunite. The world begins the long, uneven work of rebuilding. But Juan Pujol García cannot go home. He is a target. Surviving members of the Abwehr will eventually learn they were betrayed. Former Nazis scattered across Europe and South America will have long memories. Even Soviet intelligence, now swallowing Eastern Europe whole, might take an interest in a man who ran the most successful deception network of the war. MI5 offers a solution. Not a medal, not a pension, a death certificate. 1949, the records say, Juan Pujol García dies of malaria in Angola. A quiet end in a distant colony. File closed. The man himself boards a ship under a name that is not his own. Destination? Caracas, Venezuela. He opens a bookshop. Later, a small gift shop. He lives in a modest apartment in a city that knows nothing about him. He speaks to his neighbors about the weather, about business, about nothing at all. He does not mention the war. He does not mention London. He does not mention the 27 people he created who changed the course of history. For 35 years, the spy who saved D-Day lives as nobody. No MI5 contact, no recognition, no interviews, no memoir. The man who built the most elaborate fiction of the 20th century disappears into the most ordinary reality he can find. A bookshop in Caracas, a name no one will remember. And the world forgets him. Not deliberately, there is no conspiracy of silence. His file is classified. The few people who knew his real identity keep their mouths shut because that is what intelligence officers do. And Pujol himself does not seek the spotlight. He never did. I never wanted recognition. I did what I believed was right. 35 years. That is longer than his entire espionage career. Longer than the war itself. Longer than most of the lives his deception helped save. Then, in 1984, a knock at the door. Nigel West, a British intelligence historian who has spent years tracing paper trails through declassified files, stands on the doorstep of a small apartment in Caracas. He is looking for a dead man. The door opens. An elderly Spaniard stares back at him, 72 years old, weathered, quiet, alive. Pujol is stunned. He believed the world had moved on. He believed his story would die with him. Another classified file gathering dust in a government basement. He was wrong. June 1984, the 40th anniversary of D-Day. Juan Pujol García returns to London for the first time in decades. He meets Prince Philip at Buckingham Palace. He shakes hands with intelligence officers who know his name only from legends passed down through the service. Then he travels to Normandy. He walks the beaches where, 40 years earlier, young men stormed ashore into machine gun fire, while 34 German divisions sat motionless 100 miles away, held in place by a message he wrote at a desk in London. He sees the graves, row after row after row. White crosses and stars of David, stretching toward the horizon in a silence that has its own weight. To see the beaches, the graves, to know that perhaps some of those boys lived because of what we did, that is enough. He returns to Venezuela. Juan Pujol García passes away on October 10, 1988. He is 76 years old. His greatest weapon was never a radio or a code book. It was imagination. He invented 27 people who never existed, and in the end, he became one of them. History is full of people whose names should be everywhere and aren't. If this story made you think about what one person can do when every system tells them no, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more stories like this, the kind your textbooks left out, subscribe. The next one is already coming. What would you have done if 3 countries told you no?